I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 343. Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Hello, all my dear friends, and how are you this beautiful fall day? It's a beautiful fall day where I am. I don't know about you. And I have so many things that I would like to discuss with you today. As a lot of you know, I just started a new group program using my Thinner Peace process. We had our first class a couple days ago, and I think it would be really fun to share with you a little bit about what I'm teaching in the group and maybe something that you can learn, even though for whatever reason that you decided not to do the group this time, which is fine. I open up the doors a few times a year. So next year, probably around March, you'll hear about it again, and maybe that'll be the time for you. But meanwhile, I think right now I'm going to just talk to you about the different classes that I'm doing, the subjects that I'm talking about, some of the things that come up, just like I talk to you about some of my individual clients' processes. I don't tell you the exact details, of course, or names. It's very private. But sometimes just the issues in general and how I coach them and how they have their moments of clarity, I think can be really, really helpful for you too. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do, especially today, because we just started. And one of the things that we talked about that I have talked about on this podcast many times, but I always start out with my clients about why they want to do this work. Now, it seems like it would just be so simple. Like, why do you want to do this work? Why do you want to lose weight? And usually the question usually turns into two things that I think most people say to me. One is, I want to be healthier, or I just want to have one size of clothes in my closet, or I want to be able to fit into the clothes that are in my closet. Those are usually the reasons. And if they really were compelling, and that's the word I like to use, compelling, like so exciting, you just have to do it. Because compelling really has your brain's attention. And you really need to have your brain's attention on this work, because otherwise your brain is like a puppy dog. And we know what puppy dogs do when they're not being disciplined. They do whatever they want and they cause problems everywhere they go, right? Because they're babies, they're puppies, they don't know. It's the same thing with baby children and toddlers. Think of your brain as that, is they need discipline because they kind of want to do what they want to do and they don't really know what is best for them at this time. And so parenting or training a dog, you can think of that as your higher part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, that kind of watches over the undisciplined toddler, the puppy dog, cute little things that just want to do what they want to do and they just cause problems. So when you think of compelling, you need something that's so exciting that when this undisciplined part of you or your primal brain comes up with these ideas, like for instance, you get home after a long day, say you were working all day and you're exhausted and it was a hard day, and your little brain comes up with this idea. It's like, oh man, you deserve a break today. Didn't there used to be a McDonald's commercial now that I'm thinking of it? But it says you deserve something today. And usually what this puppy dog, untrained puppy dog, little child will say is, don't you think that cake would be a great idea right now. You're tired, you don't really feel like doing anything, you don't really have energy to do anything. Let's just have a piece of cake or two. But it comes up with this idea of how you can feel better quickly, even though it's going to cause so many problems later on. And when you think of why you want to do this work, it has to be more compelling than feeling better in the moment. Because in the moment, when you get home and you're really tired and you're really stressed, I hear it all the time. I'm so tired and I'm so stressed, and I just need to relax with food. I deserve food like a reward. But using food in context that really has no fuel value, but really makes that primal part of your brain think that it's going to get something, just like a puppy dog when you're potty training it, or kids. They want to go where they want to go, wherever they feel like it. Right. And your job is to say, well, I don't care where you feel like it. This is where you're going to do it. And pretty soon they do what you say, and they're happier, you're happier, and you have a well trained dog, or you have a well disciplined child. And now, what I'm saying to you, what I'm saying to my new group is we want to have a well disciplined brain. And a well disciplined brain really is what mindfulness is all about, which I teach a lot in the Thinner Peace process, is being mindful of what's going on in your mind, what your brain is saying to you, which we do a lot when we're working together. But for all practical purposes, this compelling reason that you have needs to overrun all the other desires that you know are going to come up. And probably the most competing desire for not eating, or for being able to eat what you say you're going to eat, or to do what you say you're going to do, is usually some sort of indulgence in something, overindulgence. So, overindulgence is kind of the competing reason that you have to look at that needs to be weaker than your compelling reason. You have to know what's going to come up, what's going to get your attention, and then you have to be prepared for it with a big why that overrides that. And this is the thing about the process that I use is, yes, of course, weight loss, I want you to lose weight. But weight loss, in the context that I'm looking at it and when I'm teaching women about it, is that weight loss is just a way of learning how to connect better to your own brain, to have a better mind body connection by being able to connect physically into your body in a specific way. And one of the easiest ways to do that is with hunger and fullness, because your body is going to get hungry a few times a day. And when you feed it, it's going to fill up and you're going to feel it. And you have opportunities to decide how full you are, how hungry you are. And of course, in my process, we always talk about staying between the twos, right? So that you're not too hungry and you're not too full. But then hunger and fullness become the twos. Your brain learns that that's the number that it's looking at. Because really, we're wired to start eating, not when we're starving. Our body kind of tells us when it's time and when it's time to stop. And all we're doing, and all I'm doing when I teach it, is to try to teach you how to reconnect to how your body was already wired by putting numbers on it. And it really is so helpful, and it works, which is amazing. And that's why it's part of my process. But here's the other thing. When you have overriding desires, and the reason I'm talking about that now is because the holidays are coming up. So that's usually when these desires will pop up more. They're competing. They're going to compete for your compelling reason. And if you know ahead of time what those competing desires are and what the thoughts are that create it, you'll be more prepared on how to handle it. And so I love the holidays. That's why I decided to open up a group through the whole holiday season till the beginning of February, so that we really get all of these opportunities to see these competing desires and to nip them in the bud, so to speak. And this is the thing about what happens is every single time you have a competing desire. For instance, you just finished eating, you had a fuel meal, you're at a +2, the food was delicious, it was a very good meal, you're out with friends, you know you're done, and then your little brain asks you in a very quiet way, "Wouldn't you like to eat a little bit more? I mean, it's really delicious, and everybody else is still eating it, and it really won't matter, and it's only a little bit." That's called a competing desire. It's over and wanting to overindulge. Now, when you think about something that would be compelling to you to do the work, losing weight and fitting into your clothes many times in that moment is not very competitive. Oh, yeah, we'll work on it tomorrow. Oh, it doesn't matter right now. Oh, it's just a little bit. All of that stuff comes in. So you have to have something more compelling. And I'm going to give you some ideas of what some compelling beliefs can be. But I want you to know that the more compelling it is, the more exciting it is. And how do you know it's exciting? It's like when you state it to yourself as a mantra, you can feel in your body, you can feel it light up, right? And you want to practice it a lot so that you can use it when that competing desire comes in. And of course, we have the holidays and celebrations and all kinds of things coming up that's going to give you that opportunity. Now, this is what I want to tell you about being successful with this process is the people that are the most successful is because they have this one characteristic and it's called resilience. And I want to read you the definition of resilience because I think that if you become more resilient, that's how you will become more successful with anything that you do. But especially with the thinner piece process, resilience is a must because you have to handle setbacks. So, resilience, the definition of it is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness. Now, that means that if you have a compelling reason, your big why of why you want to do this work, and let me tell you that a big why, a big compelling reason for you could be to very, very simply learn how to eat food for fuel and feel your emotions, to be committed to that, because what you're going to end up doing is when this competing desire comes up, what comes up is a strong emotion, a strong negative emotion, a strong urge. Now, there's two things you can do with that emotion. You can eat it, which is what we call overindulge, or you can have a compelling reason. A big why is I don't want to do that anymore. I want to learn how to handle my emotions and eat for fuel. Would that be strong enough for you? I mean, because it would give you the intended result. You would still lose weight. You'd still be able to wear different clothes in your closet. But is that a stronger commitment for you that you would want to learn or to acquire or to believe that you could do that? So that when you're in the midst of a holiday party and you see something, your favorite, how many times have somebody said to me, "It was my favorite. I loved it. I've never had anything so good. I'll never get anything again." When your brain starts doing that, that's a competing desire. Your compelling reason comes in, your mantra comes in is, I want to be able to eat food for fuel and handle my emotions without feeding them. Wouldn't that be compelling if you could do that? And the way you can do that is by telling yourself that's what you want to do. That is your big why for doing it. I want you to really think about that because you have your big why, you know what your competing desires are, and then sometimes you're going to give in to the competing desires, which does not slow down the thinner piece process. It actually activates the process because then it becomes how resilient are you when you have a setback, when you see yourself doing something you don't want to be doing, how fast can you come back? And I talk a lot about that on this podcast about coming back and coming back the faster you come back, the more resilient you become, the more successful you become. So it's not the diet that you're on or what you're eating. It has much more to do with how committed you are to giving yourself something that you've never been able to give yourself before because you didn't know what your big why was. Like weight loss just isn't that compelling when there's all these other competing desires. But if you could use food in the right way, and you know that any emotion that you have, no matter how stressed you are, how tired you are, that you know that food's not going in your mouth and you can totally trust yourself that you can do that, that's compelling. You might want to use that. You might want to use some inkling of what I just said about that. So that's what I want to leave you with today is this whole idea of the holidays are coming. You have an opportunity to learn resilience at a warp speed because there's so many opportunities during the holidays to use it. And even if sometimes you give in to that desire, that in itself can make you more strong if you come back fast, which means that, okay, I ate the cookies, but I'm going to wait till I'm hungry again. And all you do when that next meal comes up, you start at a -2, you stop at a +2, you eat fuel food, you're back. You just created a little bit more resilience. To me, resilience is what will make you successful with anything that you do. Anything. It makes your brain stronger. It makes you understand failure. It makes you not be afraid of failure. It makes you curious when you see yourself doing something that you don't want to be doing. And then you stop using judgment and you start using self-compassion and you start really feeling that connection to yourself. So for this week, as the holidays are starting to come, I want you to think about what would be compelling to you. And I'm going to read you some compelling reasons that I've had from my clients in the past that you can use. And it's helped them. So, it might help you too. So here's a compelling reason that from one of my clients. And this is what she wrote. I want to be as important as my family, my job, my friends, and I am committing to do this no matter what. Now, this client of mine, she was so good at honoring commitments to everybody else and breaking commitments to herself. And so what became compelling to her was to think that she was more important, to teach herself, to learn, to believe that she could be more important. And you know what? That's exactly what she did. And that made all those other competing desires go by the wayside because it was more compelling to stick to her commitment to herself than to break it. So that's just one compelling reason that you can think of. What would be compelling for you? I want you to really think about that as you go through your week this week. And of course, as you're thinking about this, as the holidays are coming up, as celebrations are coming up, what, beyond a doubt, would be more compelling than giving in to eating because somebody else is eating something not mindfully? Because with the holidays, I still want you to be able to eat. If you like cookies and you have a favorite cookie, eat it mindfully, bite by bite. Know that you can eat it, but also know that you can stop. Know that you don't have to keep eating because you're never going to get it again. Changes everything. So think about that. The holidays are coming. You are going to start creating resilience as the season starts by thinking about your compelling reason. And of course, before I end, there's nothing else I could possibly say to you that as you're doing all of this work, please, please, please be very kind to yourself. And of course, I will see you next week. Bye-bye. If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change, and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE.